And here we are. I believe we are officially live. Let me just make sure. Yep, we're good. We're up and running. Happy Saturday. The weekend's here finally. I don't know about these guys, but I'm not having the best week. Thank God Nebraska covered last night, but I had Kansas State minus the 11.5. I had the Commanders, and I had Middle Tennessee. I did win too, but overall I think I'm 2-4 on the week. So I need a good Saturday here. But vibes are high. I'm feeling good about my bets. I got 16 games lined up, so it was a couple less than last week. So let's run through them. First up, Oklahoma at Texas. Let's start with the big one. So this line is at 5.5 as of about 45 minutes ago. I'm assuming it's still there. And Mitch, I got you up front, so why don't you start us off on this one?
Well, I think this is, I've been saying it all week, and we always do musical references on our show, and I say, wake me up when September is gone. Green Day had it right because October college football is where it's at, and it's always the first weekend in October. It's always the Texas State Fairgrounds, and it's always Texas Oklahoma at noon. They never move this to night or Jerry World or anything like that because, well, they love taking their picture at the end of the game in front of that scoreboard, that winning team. That's the tradition in this one. And I think this one's going to be a slobber knocker, man. I think this is the one where the rubber meets the road. I think that, Ewers certainly has played a lot better than the quarterback that got beat out by Justin Fields and Stroud at Ohio State. But this is the game. It only matters here. Dylan Gabriel, of course, UCF transplant. We always lean to those UCF guys. And UCF team, no matter where they're at. So I just think this is going to be one of those tight games. And I think having those points in my back pocket is where I want to be. I honestly think this is a field goal game either way. And I think it could be a high scoring shootout. It could be a defensive, slugfest. I'm not even sure, but this is for me, one for the fans. I do not have a top play on this game at all, but I always rather have points and when I can't make my mind up, I'd rather have the points.
Yeah, I can see your logic on that. Let's bring Jay up. I'm on the other side, as people know. I post this one on video on YouTube. Jay, I'm assuming you're on Texas. Hook 'em.
Okay. Yeah, I'm gonna be honest. This is not like one of my favorite games on the card, man. This game kind of scares me because I do think Oklahoma is underrated, but I think Texas. This is the best Texas team they've had in quite some time, man. And I really believe in Quinn Ewers and what these guys are doing. And I think collectively, when you just look at roster for roster, player for player, I think that the Longhorns are the better team. I think in the end, they win this game by 7. I think it's going to be a high scoring back and forth affair like it usually is. But in the end, I think that the Longhorns probably get a late stop, drive down, and punch it in for the touchdown for the win. I'm going to take the Longhorns. I'm going to lay the points here in this one.
Me too, but I'm on the same page as everyone else. Not one of my favorite bets on the day, but kind of my thoughts are similar to what Jay said. I think Texas defense is the best unit on the field at all 4 of these. And I mean, what Mitch said is true. This game could get crazy just because the rivalry aspect.
It always does.
But last year, obviously, they blew them out. That's not going to happen again. But I think right now, if you look just on paper, it's the 2 best units on the field are Texas defense and Oklahoma's defense. When's the last time that was ever a thing? But I think I'm calling bullshit a little bit on Oklahoma's defense due to their lack of competition. It's like, yeah, they held SMU to 11 points. They held Cincinnati to 6 points. But if you watch those games, I mean, they had like 380 yards, 390 yards. So the Oklahoma's points per game just looks awesome, but it should be higher. And like I said, they haven't played a ton of competition. I think Texas is going to light the scoreboard up on them. Maybe Oklahoma lights it up right back, but I just feel more comfortable on Texas.
I agree about the level of competition, but I just think it's tough to call Will Venable's defense as a fraud because it's a guy who's been there, done that everywhere he's been. He was the highest paid coordinator in the history of coordinators at Clemson, where he built championship defense after championship defense. He was a championship defensive coordinator before that. So, this is his first time. He turned down 1 million head coaching offers. Not 1 million, but all right, 100.
I feel like playing defense, building a defense in the ACC is trying to make stops. Is different than trying to make stops in the Red River rivalry.
But he was not always in the ACC. He was in the SEC before that.
Texas. I mean, I could see Oklahoma's defense being all right, but I could also see if I had to pick a side that's going to make more mistakes, you would think it's normally Texas. Historically, they'd be the ones to shoot themselves in the foot, but I think it's the opposite. I think Texas is more fundamentally sound, and I think I could see Dylan Gabriel making the mistakes here.
As a college football fan, I look forward to watching it. As a bettor, I will not put a dime anywhere near this thing.
Yeah, agreed.
But I will take one of those fried Snickers bars they have.
What about Rat Hawk?
You perked my ears up when I heard fried Snickers. No, I am going to take Oklahoma in the points in this one because I do think that it is going to be a back and forth game. And which quarterback do I trust to make the big play late? I would say it's Dylan Gabriel over Quinn Ewers. Quinn Ewers. Okay. We talk about big plays, right? And how explosive plays normally determine games like these. It's about getting a stop, but it's also those one or two big plays we talk about. Quinn Ewers on pass attempts of 20 plus yards a season is 4 for 19. So if he tries to go over this Oklahoma secondary, I don't know if he can make those big throws. If he gets the yards after catch from his receivers that catch the ball after 10 yards and go another 60, that's one thing. But I just think this is a back and forth game. I'm with Mitch. I think this is a field goal game. I'm not saying that Oklahoma wins this one outright, but I think both these teams have this game circled. Obviously, Red River rivalry. I'm not taking that. I'm not throwing that out. But part of me thinks that Oklahoma's a little bit pissed off after that 49-0 game last year. It was a terrible situation. They had no quarterback. They were running wildcat with their third string quarterback. It was terrible. and I think that this could be a little bit of, I don't want to say vindication, but this could be, a big thing for Oklahoma to get out from under the shadow of the strength of schedule argument. So I just think Oklahoma shows up. I think it's a field goal game. I like Oklahoma in the points.
So we're split on this one. Our community is not. Community's pretty heavy riding with me and Jay on Texas. 57% laying the 5.5, 26% taking it. Let's move on to the next game, which is Maryland at Ohio State. Hold on, let me get the picks. Clear the picks out here. I laid the points with Ohio State in this one, and I actually bet it. I put $200 on it. For me, it's about 0.75. So I didn't crush it, but I'm on Ohio State. Jay?
I'm taking Maryland plus the points in this one, man. I think Maryland is getting a little disrespected. Ohio State, I don't think this team is quite the team they were last year. And I think Maryland is slightly better than they were last year. And we saw how that game ended up. Maryland ended up covering the point spread. I think the key to this one, I know Ohio State's defenses look solid in spots, man, but I question the competition. I think Maryland will be able to move the ball, score some points, enough to keep it within 3 touchdowns, man. I'm grabbing the points here. With no longer just Tua's little brother, man, but with a real quarterback who looks real good this season. I'm taking the points with Maryland.
I could get with you that maybe Ohio State isn't as good as years past, but this is such a reminder game. Hold on, let me get to my notes because I have it written down. Maryland's last 4 trips to Columbus, they're 0-4, obviously. They've lost by an average of 44.25 points. So Ohio State just doesn't just beat Maryland. They beat the shit out of them. So, yeah, I'm laying it. And I think it's just a perfect – there's not many opportunities where you can kind of buy low on Ohio State. But coming off the Notre Dame game where they didn't look great, they could have easily lost that game. I bet you a lot of people would argue they should have lost that game. Notre Dame played the final plays with 6 defenders on the field. But then you get a bye week and you have Ohio State coming off that kind of could have been a wake-up call for that team because a loss for Ohio State basically means their season's over to some extent. So that could have been a bit of a wake-up call. And then they get 2 weeks to prepare for Maryland's defense. I heard the weather isn't supposed to be great, but I don't even care because I think they'll just slam the ball on the Maryland's front 7 and hold the ball this whole time. I like Ohio State in a blowout. Maryland does look good this year. They've definitely looked good the past few weeks, but they've played nobody. Their only road game on the year was at Michigan State, right smack in the middle of that Mel Tucker crap. So I don't even give them credit for that win. So yeah, Ohio State in a blowout is my pick. Let's go to Rat Hawk.
Yeah, I'm taking Maryland in the points as well. I think that Ohio State probably wins this game comfortably, but to me, this is just about the number. I think 18.5 is just too many. I could see it's finishing around 17, maybe a 38-21 kind of game. But yeah, I'm with Jay. I just think that, we saw this last year where, Maryland was able to hang around against, when we said, just a much better Ohio State offense with, CJ Stroud. Now I think Kyle McCord's a bit of a step back. I do think that, like you said, weather's not supposed to be great, so maybe it's going to be a run-heavy approach for Ohio State here. But Maryland, top 50 in both rush and pass defense, so they're decent enough, and I think they're decent enough to get at least a couple of stops to keep himself within this number. So give me Maryland plus the points.
Mitch, tell me you're with me.
I think you're going to be on an island here, and I know Lou Holtz looks like Granny from the Beverly Hillbillies, but I got to tell you, he does know his football, and I think that, he said that this Ohio State team just clearly not a great team this year. And I got news for you. I think Ryan Day, initially when he took over at Ohio State, got to remember, there were Urban Meyer's players that he had at the time. I thought he was really a great coach, but the more and more we see him, the less I believe that he is a great coach or even a good coach. At this point, I believe Ohio State, when's the last time we really thought that they might be the third best team in the Big Ten this year? And I think that that's certainly a possibility. A lot of what we talk about on our morning shows, we love the stigma. We love the teams that have the bad juju, the bad stigma, because you usually find value there. And I think Maryland and that stat that you mentioned, getting blown out of the gym at Ohio State, I think that works in our favor here, getting this generous number in what probably figures to be a closer game than this. Mike Locksley is not the same Maryland stiff head coaches that they've had. He's the first Maryland head coach to bring home back-to-back bowl wins in 20 years. I think the Terps are a different animal this year. And maybe I'm wrong, but I think that at worst, we get some garbage points in covered through the back door.
See, I don't disagree with what you said. You said you can make an argument that Ohio State's the third best team in the Big Ten. Maybe. We're not saying that's yes or no, but I can see how an argument could be made. But the gap between the third best team in the Big Ten and the seventh best team in the Big Ten is still huge. Last year, who was the third best team in the Big Ten? Penn State. I would have laid 18.5 at home with Penn State coming off a bye against Maryland. I don't think Maryland.
But if you laid this against Indiana with Ohio State, you didn't cover.
That was week one. Kyle McCord's first game. First game was the starter, I believe, and then in the second half, after he had, I think it was his sixth drive, he put together 3 straight scoring drives to seal the game. So it just got off to a slow start. He just got off to a slow start in his first game, and then once he got comfortable, he drove right down the field and scored 3 straight times to win.
35-7 against Youngstown State in the Big House.
I mean, are you really going to do a deep dive on the Youngstown State game? Who knows what they might have been trying.
I got time. I went back to watch replays of this show.
Do not
7 hours. So.
Do not sully the good name of the Penguins.
And I am officially on an island, by the way, because the community is on your guys' side. 52% taking the points with Maryland, just 35% laying with Ohio State. Buckeye up. Let's move on.
This is the type of games Ohio State loses.
This is the type of game they win by 60, and everyone's like, oh, we shouldn't have slept on them.
Or lose outright. They're
not losing outright to Maryland. They're going to win this game by
People said about Iowa a few years ago that at Iowa, 22.5-point dogs beat them outright by like 40.
You're going to compare an Ohio State home game off a bye to a road game at Kinnick Stadium.
But if you look at the Big House historically, the home field advantage isn't there. They lose at home every single season.
There is truth to that.
Every season they lose at home.
I think people might be riding Maryland a bit too high. Tagovailoa is kind of cool, but that defense, maybe we haven't seen it yet this year, but we also haven't seen anyone that could take advantage of it. That defense offers little resistance. So Rat Hawk is up.
I think he's doing a great job.
We'll see. All right, Rat Hawk, start us off. LSU on the road at Mizzou. I can almost guarantee Rat Hawk is taking the points with Missouri here. I know this man. You're muted.
Sorry,
sounds better that way.
Would you stop it? You do know me very well, but I watched your video on this one, Kyle. And I got to say, I'm with the Eastern Seaboard with the over as well. I got to say, this is, going to be, I think it's going to be back and forth. I kept going back to this game, and I kept seeing something like 38-35 or, 41-38, because We said it last week. LSU is no longer DBU, and I think it's gonna be who has the ball last, and I think it's gonna be an entertaining game between two great quarterbacks. Brady Cook's been outstanding. Yes, maybe not against the toughest pass defenses out there, but LSU's not one of them either. I think this is gonna be airing it out all day. See both quarterbacks getting 400 plus passing yards, maybe. So give me the over 64.5. Lean towards Missouri plus the points as well.
I would lean towards the over as far as the total as well. But as you guys already know, I put this one on YouTube. I'm on LSU here. I think the pendulum swung a little too far. I was on the fade LSU train. 2 weeks ago, I took Arkansas. Then last week, I took Ole Miss as my top bet of the day. So I'm cool with fading LSU, but I think the pendulum has now swung too far. I like Missouri, too. Brady Cook's been slinging it. That receiver that Mitch was talking about last week or 2 weeks ago.
Burden.
Yo, he is good. So Missouri definitely has an offense, definitely been throwing the ball. But you know what? I thought if you asked me to describe this Missouri team entering the season, I would have talked about the defense. They got a good defense. It's going to be tough to score on that team. It's not really been the case. The defense has been a little underwhelming. The offense has been the unit that's been showing up for Missouri recently. And in a game against LSU where, say what you want about LSU recently, in their last 3 games, they're still averaging 41, 42 points a game. So that offense is unreal. They're going to score on Missouri. Do you trust them to keep up? Maybe LSU secondary is beatable, but do you trust Missouri to hang 38 and keep up with them? I don't. I think Harold Perkins is going to make a play, maybe a forced fumble. I think LSU's defense has a little bit of a bounce-back performance. I'm with you on the over. I'd say like 41-28 final score, LSU wins. Let's bring Jay up.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I am taking Missouri plus the points. I am.
You're an LSU fader, though. You're an LSU fader.
I am. I'm fading LSU in this one. I mean, both times we've seen them in big games, they fell flat. Missouri, I think, will be able to score points, just like everybody else has been able to score points. And laying points with LSU, a team whose defense gives up the points that they give up, just seems like a bad idea. I think this is a field goal game all day. Missouri has a legitimate shot to win it. And if LSU does win it, they probably win it on a late field goal on the road. So I'm not landing with LSU on the road. Give me Mizzou plus the points at home in this one.
All right, Mitch. If you take the under, we will officially have covered all 4 sides of this game.
I'm taking Mizzou. The only total I took in this game was Ruffalo's mention of Eli Drinkwitz, which came in under. I'm surprised he didn't give you at least 5 to 6 of those in his explanation, because he's one of our guys. I just think this guy's one of the emerging young superstar head coaches out there. 40 years old, 12-1 at Louisiana before taking over the Missouri job, where he's quietly turned a Missouri team, which is kind of an afterthought here in the SEC, into a team that comes in and competes every single week. I think what he's going to do here is he saw the pass coverages that Daniels has been facing in the last few weeks. They've tried the zone, right? That doesn't work that well. They tried the man coverage. He seems to be able to identify the mismatch. He has the time to do that, and that's why they're putting up 40-something points a game. I think Drinkwitz is a master at this, and I think he's going to be mixing up these coverages, and I think that LSU is going to be in some trouble here because we know that Brian Kelly teams are about as soft as they come. I mean, they are marshmallows when playing against physical teams. And I think not having the best receiver in the stadium, I think LSU is, in an odd spot in that one as well, because they're going to get torched. I mean, this is the Burden coming out party right here. And I think what we've seen from Burden's emergence from last year was, and you see this with a lot of freshmen in college football, where they're so used to being the best guy on the field in high school football that they don't really have to put in that extra effort and really try and do all those things in the gym and everything like that and all the practice and all that stuff. And then they get to this level and they're just another guy. And then it's like they start to put in the work, and then we start to see them excel to that level again. And I think this is coming out pretty. I could see Mizzou taking this one outright. They are the higher-ranked team coming in. They do have the better record coming in. They have the better coach. And, they got a kicker that's about 400 pounds.
See, I don't disagree with you with what you said about LSU struggling when their opponent makes it a physical game. I could see that. But I don't know if Missouri is that team. I thought they were going to be entering the season, but in that Kansas State game, they did not look great. I had Missouri +4 as a top bet. I was glad to see the dude hit a 61-yarder. But I don't know if they deserve to win that game. And they didn't look like the more physical team, and that was Kansas State.
Kansas State runs a very, very
I know. It looked really good last night.
Well, look at them. But the thing about Kansas State that we've seen over the past decade or so is that they don't win every game, and they will look bad at times because they have a funky style offense, which looks like the hidden ball trick on every single play. But the thing is that against a more, let's just say, predictable offense like Brian Kelly runs, I think we're going to see Eli Drinkwitz just clearly, out chess match him here.
I could see that. I could see LSU getting out coached. I'm not a Brian Kelly guy. I just think the LSU offense shows up, and it's like in the third quarter of this game, they're already going to have 35 on the board, and it's going to be like, holy shit, they can't keep up. But the community is on my side on this one. I'm on an island on the screen, but the community's with me. 50% of our viewers laying the points, 33% taking them with Mizzou. Next game is, I'm very curious to see what you guys are doing in this one because I ended up not betting it. So I'll put mine. Mine was UCLA or pass. Crazy to say that UCLA home against Washington State, and I'd be leaning UCLA because of the defense. That just doesn't even make sense, but that's the truth. The line doesn't make 100% sense to me, which is why I think there's an angle out there for UCLA. I'm not betting it, so I don't want to waste too much time. Mitch, you like anything on this one?
I like Wazoo. I think they've put in the effort this year, and I think that they've flown under the radar as kind of the non-name brand in the Pac-12.
See, that's the thing. I don't think they're really under the radar. I think people know Washington State's good. That's why
because they've played a heavy-duty schedule, and they've come out clean on the other side. They played the much tougher schedule than UCLA. I think I love Ward. We all know about my feeling about former Incarnate Ward quarterbacks, right? I love them. But the thing is we know that UCLA has the guy, right? But we haven't seen him be the guy yet, and it's like UCLA hasn't played the toughest schedule. I don't think any of that stuff matters. I just think I don't see Washington State just going away here. So getting the hook here is, I think, vital. But I think that this is, once again, a field goal game either way. And if I lose, I'm going to lose by half a point. It's going to be a 4-point game. I just see this one being one of those Pac-12 games that come down. I don't see UCLA running away with it because we haven't seen their quarterback do the things that we know he's capable. He's going to be the great one, right? I mean, we know Sports Illustrated college or high school player of the year consensus, number one overall player, not just quarterback, number one overall player. You don't see these things all that often. But at the same time, I love the way Washington State's playing. I just like the way they're playing football.
Yeah, but Washington State, if they've shown us one thing over the years, is that they're completely down to lay an egg in a road game especially. But let's see what the Rat Hawk has to say.
Yeah, I wasn't all that high on this game. I was probably going Washington State or pass here. But yeah, this line just feels sort of right on. I'm with Mitch. I could see it's being a 3 or a 4-point game where that hook really plays a factor in this, but I don't know. I'm also high on Cameron Ward. I think that, he's going to try to make some big plays here, and yeah, there's not much I can really add to that. I don't really have a great feel for this game, so for me, it's Washington State or pass. Just a game where, in a game that I could see going either way, I'd rather have the points in my back pocket.
But that's what Mitch said about the Sports Illustrated thing, I think plays into my point that UCLA's got this kid getting all the hype at home against Washington State, who you guys are claiming are undervalued, and the line's still 3.5, and the public's coming in all over Washington State. I don't know, it just doesn't feel right to me. But let's see what Jay has to say. Oh, that's not Jay. There's Jay.
I've seen threes out there, though. I've seen threes on this.
Yeah, it did drop to 3 in a few books I saw.
Taking Washington State straight up money line.
Okay.
They're the better team. They are. When you just look at their schedule, I like that Colorado State team. I learned a lot about them watching them with the eye test this year. Wisconsin, Mordecai is, we know what's up with him. But overall, it's a solid Wisconsin team. And quite honestly, I think they beat a better team last week in Oregon State. Now, granted, that was at home. But I just see Washington State continuing to play the same football they played all year. And when it comes down to it, man, I'm just I think UCLA is going to be outgunned in this one. I think Washington State wins the game straight up outright. I'm taking the better team with the eye test that I've seen this far this year, and that's Washington State. So I'm not even overcomplicating it.
Community is on the side of you guys. 51% of our viewers taking Washington State, 36% laying the points with UCLA, 6% over, 5% under. Next game is Purdue at Iowa. Let's clear the picks out. Mitch is probably going to take the Hawkeyes here, saying Cade McNamara going down with injury doesn't matter. Am I right?
Yes. I hate Purdue's guts. I just think they absolutely stink, and I'm going to go with Iowa here. I think that, I just don't see the path, and I see Iowa at home getting it done. Kirk Ferentz has been there for a long time for a reason.
Well, Mitch is right about Purdue not being Purdue not being great. But he seems to left out the part where Iowa is even worse. I'm on Purdue in this one, and I'm not saying Hudson Card's about to go into Kinnick Stadium and move the ball on the defense. But did you see this? The quarterback that's starting, Deacon Hill, he was struggling against Michigan State. If you can't throw the ball in Michigan State, you can't throw the ball, period. Michigan State's defense doesn't exist.
I'd like Michigan State over Purdue.
Oh, my God. That's just way off. In a neutral site, Purdue would be laying 4 points to Michigan State right now.
I mean, we talk about Fresno State's soft schedule, and Purdue is one of those teams.
Yeah, but Purdue had that game, too. And also, that was the first game with the new head coach. Keep in mind.
See, this is West team.
Mitch, let me teach you about a guy named Ryan Walters. So, Ryan Walters was the defensive coordinator at Illinois last year. If you remember, Illinois had one of the best defenses in the country. He built that defense. They had Witherspoon, who you just saw the other night on the Seahawks. That defense was loaded. This year, he took the Purdue head coaching job. Purdue's defense started off rough the first few games. But what people don't know is when he took the Illinois job, the defense was bad for the first few games too. And then by the second half of that first season, it really started clicking. We're starting to see the Purdue defense click. They shut down Illinois last game. Here they are against Iowa. A terrible offense with a quarterback who couldn't move the ball in Michigan State. Purdue is going to win this one, not via Hudson Card and the offense. They're going to win this one because Iowa's offense is just worse. So Purdue plus 2.5. I'm getting the better team, and I'm getting points. No. Rat Hawk?
You haven't encountered the yes and no buttons.
Yeah, that was the first time I heard that one.
You're in for a treat. I will assure you that. But I'm taking the under here. To me, this is a game that's all predicated on defense. Iowa, we all know what the defense is for the Hawkeyes, and it's been their bread and butter. It's been their go-to for the last year and a half, 2 years now. But I'm with Kyle here. I think this could be a spot, especially with Cade McNamara out, where you could sort of use this as a launching point or somewhere somebody say, well, hey, we shut down Illinois last week. We held down Iowa's offense, even though it's really not going to say much. But you could just say it statistically, like, hey, maybe this defense is moving in the right direction. I could see if Purdue wins this, I could see it being 13-10. And if Iowa wins it, I could see 14-10, 14.
How about 14-13?
That could work. I was going to say some weird number like 14-11.
Well, I need it within 2.5. So
okay, 14, fine. 14-12.
14-12 I'll take, as long as Mitch loses. All right, let's bring Jay up. Jay, you placing a bet on this one?
I'm with you in this one. I'm taking Purdue.
Because you secretly are a fan of Hudson Card.
No, I'm not. I'm glad he's no longer at Texas. But when you kind of put the pieces together, when you play the who played who game, I like how Purdue absolutely obliterated Illinois. We saw Illinois compete. And I get road and home in college football, it means a lot, but still just follow me here. Illinois 30-13 with Penn State. Man, Iowa didn't have a whiff against Penn State.
They got crushed.
Didn't have a whiff. Like, their offense was terrible. Now, I get it. There's a lot of different home situations going on there. I understand. But when I just put the pieces together, I think Purdue is actually the better team. I think Purdue has a legitimate shot to win it outright. and I'm gonna try to go for the little bit of plus money that's there. I'm gonna take them straight up on the money line if I'm gonna play it at all.
Taking 2.5. I could see there being value on the money line. So me and Jay on Purdue. Our community is pretty split, but slightly leaning Iowa. 45% of our viewers laying the 2.5, 41% taking the 2.5, 7% under, 5% over. Next up, oh man, the big game here. The Tide at the Aggies. I already know what Mitch is picking because he's predictable. Mitch is going to fade everyone taking Texas A&M and tell some story about how Nick Saban owns Jimbo Fisher. Am I right?
No, I'm taking A&M here at home.
Oh, wow.
I'm taking the points though. I think that this one could be a heartbreaker for Jimbo Fisher, and I think we might be happy to have those points. But I think this is one of those things where both these teams very highly paid players on both teams, and I think that this I love defense, and I think this Texas A&M defense is for real. This is like one of the best pass rushes defenses overall that we'll see, and I think that I'm really mostly rooting for A&M because I think it will add more credibility to Miami's ass.
I knew it. I was gonna say that. I knew that's what you wanted. I knew. Of
course, but we're still not. Don't worry, Jay. We're still not going to get any credit for it. It's going to be.
Jay knew the game you were playing there.
Before, and it's like, wait, we're never going to get credit on it. But I'm taking the Aggies here. I just think that this isn't the best Tide team that we've seen, and I think on the road. Just bad. I know College Station is one of these great buildings and great atmospheres. It's not necessarily the best home field advantage, though. So, I don't think that factors. I think what factors is that Alabama quarterback play against this A&M defense. I think they're going to sick the dogs on them.
I agree with everything Mitch just said. Alabama, not their best team we've ever seen. And in a lot of their matchups, you could still go with the, hey, it's Alabama, though. Talent-wise, there's just such a discrepancy. You can't really do that here because A&M's loaded with talent. There's NFL players on that roster. A&M's loaded with talent. And matchup-wise, on paper, there's just no question. I mean, A&M should probably be laying 3 here if you just go with what we've seen this year on paper. Like Mitch said, the pass rush is out of this world. They've got 14 sacks in their last 2 games. Alabama is like 122nd, I think, in sacks allowed. They've allowed 22 sacks on the season. So pass protection's a problem for Alabama. That run game, Alabama, bread and butter is the run game, right? You know what? The only 2 times Alabama saw decent run defenses this year, Texas and Ole Miss, couldn't run on either of them. So I don't even know how much I trust the Alabama run game anymore. Milroe is looking a little bit better. Look like he's playing with a little more confidence at quarterback, but Texas A&M in that pass rush, that defense is real. I don't expect Alabama to be able to run the ball. And, Max Johnson is slowly winning me over as a fan. So I had A&M last week. I laid, I forget how much it was. I think I laid 5.5 against Arkansas. Was that last week or was that Auburn? No, I think it was Arkansas was last week. So I had A&M last week, and I'm going right back to them this week. Let's see where Jay's at on this one.
Fading A&M is where I'm at in this one. I'm taking Alabama. Here's why, man. In hindsight, Alabama's one loss is against, in my opinion, the best team in the country.
Georgia?
No. Hook 'em. Texas. So
they did win the national championship in 2005. So in order to be the man, you got to beat the man.
That's fair. That's fair. And I understand that argument. But based on the eye test this year, I just think it's been Texas for me. We're going to learn a lot about them today here in about an hour. But I like how second half, they dominated Ole Miss. That was a close game early. They dominated Ole Miss in that second half. Really dominated Mississippi State. Milroe, he didn't look the best against Texas, but Texas is that team. I think A&M, I know they responded, beat Auburn, beat Arkansas. I'm not high on either of those 2 teams, in my opinion, though. And the Miami loss, Miami's legit this year, but they got dominated in that game. Like, it really, when you watch the game, I never felt that Miami didn't have firm control of that football game. I just think this is the classic Alabama beats A&M. I'm sorry. A&M hasn't shown me enough to want to take them to knock off Alabama. I think Alabama's now becoming underrated at this point. I'm taking them here. I'll lay it.
What I'll say about the Miami game was if Alabama's offense was built similarly to Miami's, I might be more inclined to lay the points. But Miami can throw the ball with Van Dyke. Milroe hasn't shown us. And I think that's how eventually you're going to have to beat this A&M team is to attack the secondary because the defensive front's good. And I don't think Milroe can do it. I don't think he's the guy for that. But there's one pick left, and it's Rat Dogs. Rat Hawk.
I was gonna say we're changing it up. We're changing it up midstream. Oh, great! Now, Texas, the best team in the country. I want to thank Jay for now having to institute a breathalyzer before we go on the air. Anyways, I'm gonna take A&M here as well. Funny enough, the quarterback that's had the most success running the football against Texas A&M was ULM's Jaya Wright, who had 34 rushing yards on 5 carries. But outside of that, that's just taking their foot off the gas because they won that game 47-3. But against, Auburn's Robbie Ashford, they held him down. They held down KJ Jefferson with that front seven. I think that there's going to be a ton of pressure on Jalen Milroe here, and I look for A&M to capitalize. I think A&M. I think they've got the better skill position players, and they got the much better receivers here, and it's. I don't want to sound like an ass just saying, oh, well, this is the least talented Alabama team that we've seen in some time.
But it is.
It is. And that's, I don't want to catch heat from Alabama fans, but it is what it is. It's not as dominant looking Alabama as we've seen in years past. So I'm going to take A&M here. I think that, if A&M doesn't win this game outright, it's like a 1-point game. So give me A&M in the points.
So Jay on an Alabama island. But the community slightly agrees with Jay. Poll's pretty close. As expected, this one's pretty split. It looks like about 48% of our viewers, see when the results come up, but it looks like about 48% of our viewers are laying the points with Alabama, and like 41% are on A&M. So it's pretty close. Let's move on to the next game. Syracuse and North Carolina, and I'm a little frustrated about this one because right now, if you go on Google, and when I say right now, talking about an hour ago when I tried it. If you go on Google and type in Garrett Schrader concussion, there are 0 results. No, it's not anywhere on the internet. But apparently I'm hearing, my friend texted me, or heard it on a podcast, apparently Garrett Schrader is in concussion protocol right now. And we don't know if he's going to play. But it's not listed anywhere. RotoWire doesn't have him listed as questionable, and that college football needs to fix that. Because what's going on with that? How can you just have the quarterback of a highly... this game's going to have a lot of viewers, a lot of people betting it. I don't understand the reasoning behind keeping that stuff secret. It doesn't make sense to me.
Kind of like what they did with Cam Rising, what we found out this week.
Right, and in the NFL, there are rules to prevent it. The NFL has to declare an injury report. Like they could face legal action or face fines or whatever if they don't abide by the rules, but college football doesn't have, the NCAA doesn't have those same rules. So coaches literally use that as some kind of strategy. They hide the injury status of these players as some kind of strategic advantage of the game, but all you do is take away from the product from people that are trying to cover the sport and bet it. I don't understand how that exists. But anyway, rant over. Rat Hawk, you're up.
Jeez. Yeah, I even just tried searching Twitter just now to see if there was anything from like a beat writer or something.
No one's saying it. Nobody.
There's nothing. There's nothing.
He never went into formal concussion protocol.
I heard that he did from the guys on
Return to the Game.
That guy Joey Knish, his podcast, he does the college football thing.
I think he's wrong.
Maybe he is. But usually that's like someone who, when he says an injury report, he usually has some good information on that.
He's sharp.
Yeah, and his information is usually good, so I trusted it when he said it. It's just crazy that no one's talking about it. But anyway, Rat Hawk, take it away.
Yeah, I'm going to go with the under here. I just have a hard time getting up to, I think it's 59.5 or 60. I think it's just going to be a game where there's going to be a lot of running the football. I don't see North Carolina maybe airing it out as much as you would think when you have a quarterback like Drake May, who does have that reputation. But I keep getting to something like 31-23 or something like that. Just high 20s, low 30s on both sides, but nothing to get us up and into the 60s. So give me the under 59.5 here.
All right. Under 59.5. Jay, you betting this one?
Syracuse did me dirty last week after
You and me both, man.
I was on my fade Clemson train. Syracuse, look at them this year. They did me dirty, man. I'm gonna say Syracuse or pass. Is what I'm gonna say. Not enough for me to want to jump on them just about how bad they did me. But if I had to lean aside, I do think that they can defensively keep this game within 10. So small lean to Syracuse.
I'm on the same page. If I didn't bet it because I'm waiting, but if Garrett Schrader's playing, obviously if they announce it, actually I don't even think anyone is aware that he might not play, so maybe the line won't move. But if he's playing, I'm betting Syracuse is taking the points. I think it's a great buy low spot. People don't realize. So, all right, Clemson won that game. I think it was 31-14. So it looks like this Syracuse defense that everyone had confidence in failed. But Syracuse turned the ball over 3 times in that game, 2 of them deep in their own territory. The third one was at midfield. And all 3 of the Syracuse turnovers resulted in Clemson touchdowns. So the final score was 31-14, but 21 of Clemson's 31 points were gifted to them via turnovers. And now I'm not saying those turnovers don't count. That means we should have won our bet. That's not what I'm saying. I'm just saying This is a great buy low spot for Syracuse. Now facing a defense that's way less threatening than Clemson. North Carolina's defense definitely looks like it's taking a step forward this season. Still not a defense that scares me, even at home in Chapel Hill. So at 9.5, I think this is a great bet if Garrett Schrader is playing. All right, Mitch, take us home.
Yeah, Cuse all day and twice on Saturday for me. Of course, Carolina plays Miami next week, so I'm going to start the trash talking early of the Tar Heels and continue it all the way through the remainder of the week. I think North Carolina's going to be looking ahead to the Miami game next week, and I think they're looking ahead to when Tez Walker is going to be able to really contribute to this team, named eligible this week, just in time for the Miami game. Not unexpected. The thing is that Mac Brown's defenses have been absolute Swiss cheese in recent years. It's been a while, man, since he's had a really good defense. I mean, even that national championship he won at Texas was a Swiss cheese defense that gave up 1 million points. And I think, Syracuse, I think, is going to be able to do a lot of the things that Jay thought they were going to be able to do to Clemson last week, which is hold on to the ball and punch it right down their throat. The best way to limit Drake May's effectiveness is to keep him on the sideline. And I think Syracuse is going to be able to do that. And I also think the defense is going to be able to take advantage of some turnovers. I think this North Carolina team is kind of a fraud, and I think Miami's going to bust them up something fierce next week. But I think Syracuse beats them too.
I agree. I wouldn't use the word fraud, but I would say I think people are still gauging this North Carolina team like it's still like they still have the Phil Longo offense, not realizing he's gone and Chip Lindsey is there now, and they're more of a rushing offense now. It's still good, but it's not really the offense that it was last year. They're almost a run-first program, or at least have been this year, despite having Drake May. So I don't think people realize that this North Carolina team's a lot different. They look great. And I'm not saying they lose this game like these guys are. But in this game, I think taking the 9.5 points is where the value's at if Garrett Schrader's playing, because for those of you who never watched Garrett Schrader play, I think he's awesome. Holds on to the ball a little too much at times, but he reminds me of Josh Allen. He's big, he's physical, he makes plays when it seems like the play's dead. He finds a way to make it happen. I like Garrett Schrader. And this
my closet fans out there love when I bring up historical players, so I'll throw out that North Carolina's had 2 of the best defenders in the history of the game, Lawrence Taylor and Julius Peppers, but it's been a long time.
Yeah, and don't forget Jason Pierre-Paul.
Yeah, and Robert Quinn.
Wait, Jason Pierre-Paul. No, he was
JPP I thought he went to UCF.
UCF, yeah, he was UCF. My bad. So anyway, our poll split.
Or South Florida, maybe.
It was South Florida. All those schools just blur together, man. They're the same thing. The whole state, man.
Armando Bacot. What do you think he's making this year? $5 million?
No, more than that. 10.
How about this? While I'm here, and we're going to get to this game. Caleb Williams comes out and says, if I don't go to one of these 5 teams, I'm staying. I make more money than an NFL rookie contract for the number 1 overall pick.
That's crazy.
Already at USC.
Well, hold on.
I absolutely believe him.
No,
I
wait, hold
absolutely
on.
believe him.
I believe him in the sense that he makes more money from his NIL deal than the rookie contract alone. But that's speaking as if he wouldn't also have endorsements in addition to his rookie
He
contract.
has endorsements. He's
No,
doing
I know,
Dr.
but right-
Pepper. He's got.
He's
He's
saying-
got massive endorsements.
No, he's saying the money he makes from his
NIL.
NIL is more than he would make from an NFL rookie contract, which is true. But when you're in the first overall pick, your NFL rookie contract isn't the only money you got coming in. He's going to
The
get
thing-
endorsements all over the place.
But he's
thing
got
about-
endorsements all over the place already.
I know, but now he's
understand-
going to have an NFL rookie contract in addition to those endorsements. He would
Yeah,
make
but
more
he's got,
money.
no, he's got the NIL plus the endorsements.
No, I know, but the first overall pick in the NFL, he would make more money. His point is, I'm making a shitload of money right now. It's not enough. It's not enough of an incentive. He does not make more money than he would as the first overall pick.
I think he
does.
probably
He
I
does.
think he probably does. The argument is not the first year. The argument is you're prolonging when you get the max dollars. That's the argument. So you're gonna if you come back another year, then that's just another year you're not gonna be able to get to that $30 million, $40 million in year 4, 5, 6. So that's the real argument is, are you willing to prolong that 30 million for 5 million up here?
I think Trevor Lawrence
his
is making-
endorsements deals. Here's his current deals: Fanatics, Neutrogena, Beats, PlayStation, Athletic Brewing Company, AC Ion Water, Nissan, and Dr. Pepper.
I mean, he's also a very unique case because he plays in Southern California and all that. But I bet Trevor Lawrence, in addition to his rookie contract, in a small market like Jacksonville, still has a laundry list of endorsements just like that.
Not even.
No,
close
but
to it.
that's a very weird example because he also happens to play in Southern California. But
I'm sorry, but Neutrogena gets me.
Hey,
all right, Mitch. Anyway, so we're Wake at Clemson. Line is 21. Mitch, you betting?
Yeah, I love Clemson here. I think, this is Death Valley in October. This is just a very, very tough building. We saw it last week. Clemson just loaded with NFL players, and Wake just not the same team without Sam Hartman from vacating his spot on Mount Roofmore. I think that I'm going to take Clemson in this one. We've seen a very, very long streak of Clemson covering games from like week 5 on through the regular season. I don't know if that continues because, of course, they play at Miami on October 21st, but I think that they at least cover here.
Yeah, I'll just put mine on the screen because I didn't bet this game, but I'm with Mitch. Mine would be Clemson or pass. Don't really like what I see from Wake Forest. The Sam Hartman days are long gone. They're actually like running the ball a little bit now. I don't even know what to think of that program. So
They're still winning games.
yeah, no, they look all right. It's not that they look bad. It's just I don't know exactly how to gauge them. And on the road, they can look a certain way in one spot. Oh, they're running the ball a little bit. Well, now they're on the road in Clemson. Some of the shit that you do elsewhere doesn't work in Clemson.
Death Valley on an October Saturday afternoon is just not the place you want to be.
Rat Hawk?
Yeah, I'm on Clemson as well. This is not the same Wake Forest team that we've seen in years past. This is a big step down. And Mitch Griffiths, not the guy. I don't. If I'm a Wake Forest fan, I'm really upset that we had to take a step from Sam Hartman to Mitch Griffiths. So I think this one's all Clemson all day. Look for a route in this one.
All right. And Jay, are you sweeping? Oh no, Jay hates Clemson.
Man, y'all know what it is, man. I absolutely love fading Clemson, but I'm gonna lay it with them here.
What?
I am.
I was not expecting that.
Yeah, man. It's what they did to Syracuse last week made me kind of believe a little bit into what Mitch and Chris have been telling me that, yeah, they fell in flat in a few spots, but this team is still riddled with talent. And they still got a lot of pride, man. They're not losing to, some of these smaller schools. And now with 2 losses, they still need to have some dominant wins to kind of solidify their season. I could see this one getting ugly in a hurry. I don't like Klubnik, and I don't, but I think this is a spot, man, where Clemson rolls in Death Valley.
Yeah, seems like we're all on the same page there. I'm not going to bet it, but if I was, I'd be right there with these guys. 53% of our viewers are laying it with Clemson, 25% taking the points. Next game, UCF at Kansas. I added this one. So there's some quarterback news in this one. So John Reese Plumlee for UCF is going to play. Jalen Daniels is, quote-unquote, available but not starting. do with that information what you will. But that's the latest as far as I know. Rat Hawk, you betting this?
I really wanted to take Kansas just out of spite after UCF's debacle last week against Baylor, up 35-7, and then find a way to lose outright. But I still, if I had to go with this one, I would probably go Kansas or pass. Even if Jalen Daniels doesn't play here, I still think that Jason Bean's a capable backup. He's been, in a spot where he's been able to lead this Kansas offense in the past. And I just don't know what we're going to see from John Reese Plumlee. Yes, he's a mobile quarterback that can move UCF up and down the field, and they've had a lot of success with him. But it's his first game back after a leg injury. I want to see how the mobility is. So for me, it's Kansas or pass here.
I see what you're saying about John Reese Plumlee's first game back. But this is Kansas defense. And if John Reese Plumlee was the type where it's like, yo, we need him to make reads, go through progressions, go through his progressions. No, we need him to pound the football. I don't think Kansas defense is going to make a single stop. So UCF -1.5 for me. I obviously wish I got in on this when it was UCF +2, but I'll still lay the 1.5. I'm expecting 5.5 yards per carry from the UCF offense. What Chris said is right. Jason Bean is good. They're going to score points. Jason Bean can still play. But I like I said, I don't think Kansas is going to make many stops in this game. And at a short line like 1.5, I'm down to play the Knights. Mitch, is Mitch a homer with UCF, right?
Yes.
So UCF -1.5?
Yes. I think Kansas, I'm not mad at them for last week. When they were playing in that game, they were competitive until Daniels got hurt. I'm not mad, I'm just disappointed. And I think that, I'm just going to carry that over and hold it against them like I always do. I just think I always take UCF. They have a chip on their shoulder. I hated the way they looked against Kansas State, which left a bad taste in my mouth. But I think with Plumlee playing, if Daniels isn't playing, Kansas is nothing. I mean, they are nothing without him. And I think we're starting to see these quarterbacks, it's October, it's week 6, half the season is going to be over for a lot of teams today. And we're starting to see these injuries start to pile up, especially at the quarterback position. And with the transfer portal, as Jay has hammered home all season long, that it takes away a lot of the depth from the teams where the guys leave and go to another place where they can play. Like, can you imagine if Quinn Ewers was still the backup at Ohio State? What would be going on over there?
I think he would finally have gotten the job over McCord now.
Well, he did. He didn't beat the other.
No,
two
I know
guys.
he wouldn't have
two
last
shots.
year.
He had 2 shots.
Yeah,
but
the guys he lost it to look pretty good. I mean, Stroud's looking like the offensive rookie of the year.
Well, one guy stepped in front of him, right? Stroud just stepped in front of him. He was
but like deservingly so. Stroud looks like one of the best prospects. It's like it's not that crazy to. It's not that much of a detriment to say someone was worse than C.J. Stroud. He's carving NFL defenses right now with no run game.
It was the mullet.
It was definitely the mullet. That's what they said. That's what Coach said. He was like, I was going to put you in, but.
I can't believe that, man.
Dude, the mullet. Man.
Just can't do it.
I wanted to bring it back.
Jay, you betting this one?
Yeah, I'm taking UCF as well. I know last week was an ugly loss. It really wasn't. I didn't have them officially, but I think they bounce back. They get their guy back. I think they get back to regular schedule programming. Kansas, solid team. We had a ton of money last year, but I just don't think they're that same team from last year. And I think UCF wins this football game when it's all said and done. It could be back and forth. This is college football Saturday. Y'all know how it is. We get on here, we talk how it's going to be clear cut. And then these be the wildest games on the planet. And it wouldn't surprise me if this was one of those. But I think in the end, UCF gets the dub. I'm going to take them on the money line.
I think Kansas offense is going to look fine with Jason Bean. I don't trust the defense. Our viewers are leaning UCF. It looks like 53%. Betting Central Florida, 37%. Taking the 1.5 with Kansas. Next game, it's Buffs time. All right, it's time to talk Colorado football. And who wants to go first for Colorado? Let's let Rat Hawk go first. Rat Hawk, set the tone for us here. Colorado at Arizona State, the line is down. This is the one I put Rat Hawk at leadoff for.
Yeah, you just want to give me, just get me out of the way so that you can let these two go at it.
What are you doing, Rat Hawk?
I'm taking Arizona State in the points in this one. Jeez. I just have a problem with the Colorado pass defense, if I'm being honest with you. And I know we haven't necessarily seen a whole lot from Arizona State this season, but I do think that Trenton Bourget is a solid quarterback. For me, it's just about the spot. And I talked about this, I think, on the morning show yesterday. Just how many times can Colorado get up week after week? Like, first it was the season opener against the defending national runners-up. Then you have your home opener against Nebraska. Then you have the Colorado State rivalry. Then you have your first road game against a ranked team. Then you have a home game against USC. And now you got to go to Tempe to play a 1-4 Arizona State team on Pac-12 network. I don't know. And you know what? The thing is that this is also going to be a Super Bowl kind of game for Arizona State, who doesn't have a bowl game this season, even if they got to 6 wins. And I think, you see the hype train coming into Tempe. I think that Arizona State can do enough. They were able to sneak in the back door against USC. So was Colorado. But this line just looked funky to me from the start. And I think there was something to it. I'm taking Arizona State in the points.
Yo, it's catching on. Someone just said in the comments, it wasn't joking. He said, Rat Hawk's been hot the last couple Saturdays. Like, on my channel, you're actually known as Rat Hawk. Like, not even a joke. I think your name's actually Rat Hawk. All right, Jay. Come spit your Buffalo bullshit at us.
That's going to be Jay's new nickname. That's going to be Jay's new Twitter handle, Buffalo bullshit.
Hey,
should I put it on the screen? I'm putting it on the screen, right?
Short, sweet, simple, man. We're laying it here with the Buffs, man. Hashtag we're coming, man. I am not one that is selling all my stock on this Buffalo's team. Like, in hindsight, they lost to 2 teams that are top 10 in the country. Arizona State is far from that. Arizona State is 1-4. They're not a good football team. I think Colorado is going to move the football up and down the field on this team. I think Arizona State is going to fall flat like they do more often than not. I think the Buffaloes win this game fairly comfortably, like 7+. I understand that this is probably not the sexiest game that this team has played this far this year, but I guarantee you, I don't agree with Chris that this is a flat spot for them. I think this is a team that has 2 losses. This is the hype train, and they know they need to get back on track. This is a game that needs to be circled for a dub for them to keep it rolling. I think they get it today. I'm laying it here. Give me the Buffs. Hashtag we're coming.
Pancake spot. All
right, Mitch.
Not usually much of a line watcher or anything like that, but when I think, when you look at these this Colorado team is the most public hyped team in the last 50 years. I mean, it's the most public hype team in my lifetime. It is the most public hype team I've ever seen. People have rallied around, and ironically, the second most public hype team was also Colorado the year that it froze up. I'll fix that. But the year they won the national championship game, or tied for it with Georgia Tech. But let's see if I can get on here.
The hell?
What is that in front of your camera, dude?
It was a balloon, so he usually gets the thumbs up, but this is a new one.
He's got you got balloons over there? What are you throwing, a kid's birthday party?
No, it's like his software. It's like his software.
Well, I'll put mine on the screen.
He's throwing a celebration for Buffalo bullshit.
All right. So I'm on Arizona State in the points, but I'm not fading the public Buffalo train. I've bet Colorado a couple times. I haven't been fading Colorado like that. I don't like the matchup here because Arizona State, actually, they have one strength on their team. It's the pass defense. This is the 38th ranked pass defense in the FBS. If there's one thing Arizona State can do, it's defend the pass. In order to beat Arizona State, you got to run the ball, and Colorado hasn't shown us they can consistently run the ball. Even USC, who obviously we know has an insane pass-heavy offense. We know that offense runs through Caleb Williams. Even they came out with a run-heavy game plan against Colorado because that's clearly the way to move the ball in this Arizona State team. So it's not that I don't think Colorado's good. I'm not fading the Colorado hype train. I just don't like this matchup for them. I feel Arizona's the right side, and I'm getting more than a field goal. I think Arizona State's going to win, and then I'll bet Colorado in a big bounce-back spot soon. Maybe not next week when I like the matchup. When I need them to play a team that can't defend the pass, and then I'll lay it. I'll put it all on Colorado, but a team that can't
make a bowl game.
No, unfortunately. Hold on. I have to put you back. You left and came back, so I got to put you back real quick. Jay was trying to silence him when he was trying. There you go. You're back.
Anyways, all I was saying before is that I'm not much of a line watcher, but I think when you have the most public team possibly in history, and the line's moving the other direction, and it's a one-win team, I think it's time to pay attention. And I think that there's a lot of big, smart money here on Arizona State. I'm not saying Arizona State's going to win the game. Colorado State might win another squeaker just to keep them relevant. You know, we all know how Vegas works, right? But the thing is that I still think that Arizona State covers. I think there just seems to be way more value in the Colorado narrow win over a bad team like there was in the Colorado State game, where, let's face it, I mean, it was Colorado State, a Mountain West team that won one game last year, and now all of a sudden, it was a rivalry game. After the game, it's a rivalry game. But the thing is, Arizona State they don't really even have a lot of NFL prospects. I mean, but why is this line at 3.5? You would think it'd be 9.5, because they're not very good, Colorado, and I think that's really the answer here. They're just not a very good team. They're a poorly coached, bad team.
Bro, in the comments, yes, I did. I had the over in the Colorado first game against TCU. I didn't want to touch a side. You can go watch the video. It's up there. You don't have to take my word for it. Someone was saying, trying to tell me I faded Colorado. No, I didn't. Anyway, as expected, our poll's heavy.
I did.
Yeah, you took TCU? No, I took the over. The only time I faded Colorado was last week. I took USC first half.
I had USC last week with you.
Yeah, but I had the first. No, you had Colorado, bro. All three of you had Colorado.
Oh, no, I had Colorado last week. I had Oregon, though.
Yeah, you had Oregon. You had Oregon.
I'll take Oregon
again.
Ways. I just bet Oregon again.
So 71% of our viewers on Colorado, 18% on Arizona State.
I feel happy to be there.
All right.
I'm gonna bet it again.
Next game, Kentucky, Georgia. I put this one up on YouTube. I'll just go first real quick. I put this one up on YouTube. Kentucky plus 14.5. Still on Kentucky plus 14.5. Definitely not one of my favorite bets, though. On the ticket I posted on the website, it was a half unit. It was one of my smallest bets of the day. So I'm on Kentucky. I can't believe what Kentucky's run game did to Florida last week. That was crazy. I did not see that coming. Ray Davis and that Kentucky offensive line handled the Gators' defensive front. And you would think, well, there's no way they do that same thing to Georgia. They probably won't, but Georgia's run defense hasn't even been good. I mean, they're not even a top 25 on paper statistically. Let me preface it with that. On paper statistically, Georgia's not even a top 25 run defense this year. We all know they are, but on paper statistically, they haven't been. So after seeing what Kentucky just did to Florida, if they come out, run the ball, 14.5 is too many points. So I'll take it. But like I said, it's not one of my biggest bets. Jay?
I'm fading Georgia, man. I was just a fade of Georgia, man. I said last week, man, if they didn't cover the spread, that just shows me that they're not the number one team in the country. And it just would solidify to me that they're not, and they didn't. I think they're actually on upset watch. I might sprinkle a little bit on Kentucky money line. They may not be the one to knock them off, but I think Georgia is going to do what they've done all year. Just kind of win and squeak by. I think they win this game by 10 and when it's all said and done.
I could see that.
So I'm going to take Kentucky plus 14.5 with you.
And I also heard, and I don't know how much truth there is to this because, like we talked about earlier, college football injuries are crazy. I also heard that Devin Leary's been dealing with a shoulder injury. So I take that and do whatever you want with it. I did hear that. All right, Mitch, you betting this one?
I've gone back and forth on this game, and it's really been one of the tougher games on the board. I strongly disagree with anybody that thinks that Georgia is not the number one team in the country. This team has the 5th longest winning streak in the last 50 years. And until you beat the man, you are the man, and it's like that is the way that it works. Michigan got blown out by TCU in a playoff game, and they've been traditionally a soft, blown out team. So until they actually beat somebody and win something, I think that you're not number one. And I think the same thing with Texas, especially with Steve Sarkisian head coaching, not there. The only team that's even close to have done something that's ranked up there is Florida State. And we just haven't seen them do anything recently. But that, they've done more than any of those other teams a lot more recently, as they actually have the fourth longest winning streak in the last 50 years. But the thing is I think that in this game, either Georgia's going to finally, do what they do and come out and handle things and force turnovers. And that's just the only thing they haven't really done this year is force the turnovers. They are playing solid football. There is nothing wrong with winning football games. There's nothing wrong with winning football games. And it's like rankings mean nothing. All this stuff means nothing because everybody plays each other now. And Georgia has shown when they go head to head, they beat everybody.
But do they cover?
But do they cover in this game? I don't know.
No. My point was you're saying they beat everybody. Yeah, but they don't always cover though.
No, they have not this year. This is so. What we have to just look at in this game is kind of what Georgia this year in general is the prime example of the opposite end of the transfer portal. Georgia's had a top 5 recruiting class every single year. It has very, very stiff competition for starting jobs of guys that can play, So it's like as other teams are helped by the transfers in, even our Miami team, we got Alabama wide receivers too and all this other stuff, right? I mean, we'll take them. But Georgia doesn't have the depth. So when you hear about these injuries on Georgia and Alabama, right, these are the teams where they're transferring out of. The guys that had these top recruiting classes, Clemson, right, where they're not winning the jobs. And so they want to go somewhere where they can play. And I think that's the only issue here with Georgia. But they are clearly, if you're just on a 1 through 25 scale, they've won back-to-back national championships and are headed, they're 2 to 3 wins away from historical levels of winning streaks here. I mean, you can't take that away from them because they struggled against SEC opponents on the road. I mean, you just can't. And I don't know. I think the dogs bite, but this is going to be a low-scoring game. I'll just roll with the under.
Under? What's the total at?
So 47.5?
47.5? Sounds good to me.
I like 46 less. I think that's actually going to be 26-16.
47.5. All right.
16. 10-point win. I'll take it.
It's time for Rat Hawk.
Yeah, I'm on the same boat as Mitch here. I'm taking the under 47.5 in this one. The thing that I struggle with Kentucky is that a lot of the season they've relied on sort of that explosive play to get up and down the field. They haven't been a team that's necessarily just moved the chains consistently. And I worry that that's going to be an issue against Georgia's defense. The other thing that scares me about this number is that hook at 14.5, because I could see a 28-10 win for Georgia. I could also see a 24-14, something, 24-17 win as well, because Georgia's had issues pulling away in conference play this season. So I think it's just going to be a low-scoring, black and blue, hard-hitting SEC football coming in the number under 47.5.
So 2 picks on Kentucky, 2 picks on the under, and our poll is leaning Kentucky. 54% of our viewers taking the points, 35% laying the points.
Okay, was that Devin Leary injury? Is that new one? I knew he was having a pec issue. That was.
I just heard someone on the podcast talk about he's dealing with a shoulder injury, and it makes sense because he's been bad. Kentucky looks good. They're running the ball. Defense looks good, but he has not been good. Even in the win against Florida, they put 33 points on the board. They blew Florida out. But he was 9 of 19 with like 64 yards passing. So he wasn't even good in the game. He hasn't been very good. That also brings up the point, imagine how good this Kentucky team might be when he starts playing. Because we know he's capable of being a good quarterback. So that's another angle. But now we're on to Michigan at Minnesota. And I'll go quick because it's quick. Reverse line movement. In the favor of Minnesota, don't care. At home in Minnesota, where the Gophers' defense over the years has been vicious, don't care. There's some smart money taking Minnesota here. I guess they're basing it on what Minnesota has done here in years past, because this Gophers team looks absolutely dreadful. I don't like Callie McManus. They've lost the run game is streaky all of a sudden, and the defense, man, this is supposed to be it. Minnesota defense at home. No one comes in and scores points. It doesn't matter who it is. But you know what? The Louisiana Ragin' Cajuns just went into Minnesota last week and put 24 points on the board. They were not scored in garbage time. Louisiana was winning the game at half. Michigan looks really good. They're not. What I like about Michigan too is they're not really calling a conservative game either. I see J.J. McCarthy taking shots down the field on Nebraska up 20 points. So they're playing to dominate. So I like Michigan to cover the -8.5. Super square. Don't care. Mitch?
Doesn't get any easier than this. I'm taking Minnesota plus the points. This is about as much of a layup as we've seen in all season outside of that Arkansas cover at LSU. I think this is a very, very similar game to that where it comes down to the very end. And I think Minnesota certainly is a very super live dog for the outright win. What they do in a game like this is they take the ugliest trophy in all of sports, the little brown jug, which there's nothing little about it. They put it over on the sideline and during the game, and everyone's looking at that trophy saying, I came here to play in this game for that. And at the end of the game, they run over to the sidelines, they grab the jug, and they hoist it up. They interview the coach like he's just won the Super Bowl because the crowd is going crazy, and it's going to be the Flexter this year. I got that feeling, and it's just one of those things that you can't really explain about college football. All those things, that Louisiana, the Eastern Michigans, all that other stuff, it all goes out the window when they carry that jug onto the field. This is what makes college football the game it is. I love the little brown jug game. One of my favorites every single year, and every single time they play it now. And I'll tell you, these little brown jug games always, expect the unexpected.
Well, let me follow that up by saying these little brown jug games, Minnesota always has a good team. They don't this year. They suck. That's the difference. This team sucks.
No, they don't. They don't always have a good team.
Minnesota always has a good team under PJ Fleck.
He's only been there like 4 years.
No, this has got to be his
Western
seventh year.
Michigan.
This has got to
Seventh
be his
year from Western Michigan. Really, Flexter?
This has got to be his seventh.
That's
a guess.
No way.
2017. So it's his 6th year.
Right in between.
Yeah. but since he's got there, Minnesota's had a good team. This is the first time in a while that Minnesota's had a bad team.
The Flexter knows how to.
Can you stop calling him the Flexter, though?
Well, we've all been flecked before, so it's
Jay, tell me you're not sided with Mitch on this one.
I mean, there's some validity with what he's saying, in these trophy games, but I'm with you. I just think this is a bad Minnesota team and the number 2 team in the nation in Michigan, right behind Texas. I think I probably got Georgia 3rd, honestly. But I think Michigan shows out in this one. I'm with you. I think they kind of just are going to, over the course of the game, just choke the life out of this team. I think in the end they win it by like 24 points, like just a dominating Michigan type win. Minnesota might look like they're in it in the first quarter. People might start trying to live bet, and then Michigan just does what they do. I'm going to take it. I'm going to lay it.
Jay's Power 5 is Texas, Texas Rangers, Texas A&M, Cowboys, Mavericks, then Houston, Colorado. Texas Tech, Colorado. All right, Rat Hawk. Are you you're not with Mitch, right? You're smarter than that, Rat Hawk.
And then out of nowhere, Jay will throw in the Sacramento Kings too, just for
he
some
likes the Kings.
Variety. I don't know. I'm just throwing out random.
I bet the Kings all through that Golden State series. That was an awesome series. But anyway, Rat Hawk.
I'm on Michigan as well. I was on Louisiana in that game against Michigan. I had them on the money line too. I thought it was looking good early, but I think that game was more about Louisiana shooting themselves in the foot than it was about Minnesota, putting their foot down, and because they only had 146 passing yards in that game. And the thing for me here is that I think you start to see, and I know the rankings we talk about, they don't mean anything, but for some reason I think they mean something to Michigan who want to try to usurp Georgia at number 1. You start to see the first place votes shift away from Georgia a little bit. I think Michigan got like 20 last week. And if you get another slow or sluggish performance from Georgia and Michigan dominates Minnesota here, I think you might see more votes shift Michigan's way here. So I'm going to go with Michigan here. I think 38-14, something like that, 38-17. I'm going Michigan this one.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was talking about. So our poll is heavy on Michigan, 67%.
Going to be a fun text chat tonight.
You mean fun when you decide pretend that your phone died and stopped answering?
I take my beatings.
But in the Nebraska game,
when the beatings start, then all of a sudden we get a random message 42-3.
The
42-6, Chris.
42-6.
Got to give them the full. I said on the show they wouldn't score more than 3 points. They scored 6. They doubled me up. That's the way that
went. So this one, put it up real quick. Line seems almost too good to be true. I don't know how Ole Miss is laying this many points against Arkansas. Ole Miss defense has improved, but it's still not an elite defense. Rocket Sanders, another week back. Yeah, he didn't do much last week, but that was against Texas A&M. He should be able to run the ball on Ole Miss, and a week back, a week more healed. Arkansas is going to score on Ole Miss. Is Ole Miss going to score a shitload right back? Yeah, but I don't know. Looking at this game, I feel like it's obvious shootout, so I don't get why there's a 13-point spread. So I took Arkansas on the points, definitely. I was looking for injuries on Arkansas. I was trying to figure out what I was missing. Couldn't find anything. I think maybe just everyone's overreacting to Ole Miss beating LSU. We already knew Ole Miss was good. That LSU game didn't teach me anything new about Ole Miss. It was pretty much how I thought that game was going to go. So give me Arkansas plus 12.5. Jay?
Ole Miss.
What?
Arkansas is not good this year. This team continuously gets hyped like they're doing something special, and they've lost 3 games this year. Ole Miss, on the other hand, they've been a little disrespected. Their one loss was against the team that always beats up on them in Alabama. I ain't going to hang them too bad for that. I did really like the game that you can take the most from Ole Miss is the win on the road against Tulane, and to dominate them in the fashion that they did. I really like Tulane. And then to beat LSU last week, man, in a huge game for both teams. I just see this one. Now, is this point spread going to come in a factor in this game? Probably. I think Ole Miss wins it by 2 touchdowns is how this one sets up. So they're probably going to be up 21, and then Arkansas tries to come in the back door is probably what's going to try to happen. But I think Ole Miss beats them early. I think Ole Miss scores the points. I think Arkansas drives probably stall out like they usually do. Give me Ole Miss. I'm going to lay it at home.
Rat Hawk?
I'm taking the over 61.5 here. I'm fully expecting a shootout in this one. 5 of the last 8 meetings have seen at least 70 points. And, we talked about it. Ole Miss, if you don't count the Mercer game, you got Ole Miss putting up 37 or more in 3 of their last 4 games. Arkansas, they hung 31 on LSU, 31 on BYU. So we know they can score. So it's just a matter of how many. And I think this is a game that gets into the 70s. So love the over 61.5 here.
Cool. I have a parlay down. I took Arkansas money line and Vanderbilt money line. I think Vandy could upset Florida. I think this is 2 upset spots.
That's a great play. I don't think you're wrong. I do not think you're wrong. I think
you're dead. You just give me the money.
Okay, you just bet Minnesota, Florida. Bro. You just bet Minnesota.
Have you ever been to homecoming at the Swamp?
No.
Well, that's what's going on today. It's homecoming.
Does that mean they play well?
It means
it sounds like a good party. Do they play good football?
Yeah, I think generally Florida homecoming games, blowout city, man. Blowout city on homecoming. Anyways, this one though, I think this one I like the over, but I think also a lean to Ole Miss. I think Sam Pittman, Arkansas does fire coaches on the field, and I think Sam Pittman could get that treatment after the final game of the season this year. We saw Brett Bielema not make it to the locker room as the Arkansas coach, but Lane Kiffin, he's been fired in an airplane hangar, so maybe they can exchange some notes, at some point here. But I just think, Lane Kiffin actually has things going here at Ole Miss, and I think they're thinking that maybe they get another crack at one of these guys, man. It's like I think in the SEC, it is a little more wide open than it's been. And I think Ole Miss probably sees that, So it's a must win for Ole Miss. I do appreciate the Ole Miss fan base throwing all the bottles at the referees last week. They deserved it. That was a horrible
That was
call.
bad.
That was a horrible
You're talking about
call,
the touchdown
man.
that got reviewed and upheld?
Yeah.
That was terrible.
How is it?
That was terrible.
How do you miss that? I
Yeah.
mean, how in the hell do you miss that? It's like, oh, they should be embarrassed, throwing stuff on. You should be embarrassed by not only making that call, but then
sticking your guns on it. Yeah.
It's like, oh my
Agreed.
God,
that was
man.
terrible. And I had a lot of money on Ole Miss too. I was really pissed
I was
about
with
that.
you. I was with you.
Our poll's on Ole Miss, so maybe my feel of this game is way off because everyone seems to like Ole Miss. When I looked at this, I felt Arkansas plus 12.5 was a layup.
You got to watch out for the homecoming games right at this time of year. You got to watch out for homecoming because it's like it is a different thing. They had the Gator growl, it's like this whole big deal. It is a very
and that's
big
Florida you're talking about as the homecoming, not Ole Miss.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. Florida's home. Ole Miss might be homecoming too. I mean, you gotta check these things out as you go through because this is that time of year, So it's like those homecoming games are just a little bit different because the boosters are the ones that pay the money, for these salaries for these players.
Absolutely. All right, we only have 3 games left and we have 10 minutes left, so we're pretty much right on time here to cruise on and finish just before kickoff. Jay, Notre Dame at Louisville, you betting it?
Small lean, so I'm gonna say Louisville or pass. Notre Dame, they cannot afford to lose this game, but I think there might be an upset to watch. This Louisville team is pretty talented. I like Hartman a lot. I think this Notre Dame team is really good, and these lines are usually super sharp, like Mitch says. So, in a way, I could see Notre Dame winning the game by 6. I think the best place to be is probably Louisville plus the points, so Louisville or pass.
This is definitely an under for me. I think this total's way too high. Have you seen the last couple of Notre Dame games? It's been slow. It's been a lot of running. It's been good defense. And yeah, Louisville is a big play kind of team. So they do play a little bit towards the over, but Notre Dame's got a good defense and Louisville's got a good run defense. I think this clock's just going to wind. So yeah, this is definitely under. I actually put a decent amount on this under. I usually don't bet totals as heavy, but I hit this one pretty hard. Mitch?
I do like that under, but I also like the Ville in this one against Notre Dame. I like the points, kind of like what Jay said. I think even if Notre Dame wins, which I wouldn't really bet the money line on Louisville. Everyone knows I love a money line dog, is more than anybody. But the thing is that I couldn't go money line here because you got to figure at this point in the season, especially with Notre Dame having the one loss, that they're not going to let Notre Dame lose a close one because they want them in the champion. They want them in the playoff, especially with only a 14 playoff, because Notre Dame equals big time ratings. And I think, that's really what it all comes down to. So maybe Louisville gets screwed here in one way or another. They think they still cover the spread, but, I think it's going to be a tight game. And I agree with you guys, low scoring all the way in this thing. I think, I have, we saw Louisville playing a 13-10 game against NC State.
That
who's
game
not
was
really known for a vaunted
disgusting.
defense.
That game was disgusting. I had Louisville minus 3.5. That was disgusting.
Yeah, I mean, not really known for their vaunted defense at NC State. So I think this one is going to be a hard-hitting game. Papa John Stadium's a lot tougher building than people give it credit for. Also, it's something that Chris said about Colorado, I think also applies to Notre Dame here. How many times can you get up for these primetime games?
Right.
First, they're at home, primetime against Ohio State, then primetime against Duke, in a game that, they came back and won, even though Jay did say on the show Duke could beat Notre Dame and Ohio State, which I don't know. I'm going to have to argue with that one. But the thing is, everyone
they should have beat Notre Dame.
Everyone throws up
Ohio
my
State,
things that I say, but I'm just going to take it a small thing. And, they're going to beat, but they didn't. They didn't beat them. They had their chance, and they didn't beat them. And they're never going to get a better chance than that.
Chris, you're on the under with me, aren't you?
Yeah, I am.
I knew it.
You know me too well.
You love totals, bro. You're a totals guy.
I you know what? This is the thing is I always tell people whenever I get flack in our comment section, I'd rather give a total I feel 7 out of 10 about than a side that I feel 2 out of 10 about, just for the sake of forcing it. I know totals aren't everybody's jam, but
they're not as exciting.
I know. Yeah, and that's true. But I'm with you. I was on NC State, I was on Louisville in that game against NC State as well. I got burned. I didn't like how Louisville looked in that game.
Plummer
and now
sucks.
And now you go up against a Notre Dame defense that looked solid the last few weeks. I think this is just going to be, a knockdown, drag out kind of fight here. Could see 24-17, something like that, but I'm taking the under in this one.
Our poll is heavy on Notre Dame. If I was to pick a side, by the way, I would lean Notre Dame. So I'll say that, but I'm not. I'm sticking on the on the under. 57% on Notre Dame, 25% on Louisville. Last game, Oregon State at Cal. I don't like how popular it is, but I'm all over Cal here. Actually, you know what? Chris, want to go first? You're already up here.
Yeah, I'm going to take Cal on the points as well. I've liked what I've seen from Cal the last couple weeks. They've been battling hard. They narrowly beat Arizona State last week, but this is still Justin Wilcox team that thrives as an underdog. And the thing for me is Oregon State. This is a different Oregon State team than it is at in Corvallis at Reser. If this game was in Corvallis, if this was at Oregon State, I'd have no problem laying the points with the Beavers here. But I'm going to stick with Cal plus the points in this one. I think it's a one-score game if Cal doesn't give themselves a shot to win it outright.
Yeah, agreed. So Cal was the team I had circled going into the season because they brought back 10 of 11 defensive starters, and I thought the defense was going to be undervalued. So in these home games, we're a team that's getting a lot of hype like Oregon State and DJU. This would be a game you can catch somebody. The Auburn game was another good example of that. I think this defense is pretty good. I've placed 2 bets on Cal games this year. I've won them both. I feel like I have a pretty good read on this team, and I like the spot. I think they could beat them. I think this is a really good DJU is going to remind us that he's not that good spot. Oregon State's defense, and this dates back to last year. I'm sure Mitch can attest to this. Oregon State defense is not the same away from Corvallis. It's still good, but it's not the same away from Corvallis. At home, they're a top 5, top 10 defense. Same thing last year, but on the road, they're not quite the same. I think Cal's defense is going to show up for this one, and I'm getting more than a touchdown. Wasn't one of my top bets, but I do like it. I'll be on Cal plus 7.5 for sure. Jay?
Rather than to separately bet Oregon State and Klubnik in the same day, DJU and Klubnik on the same day, I'm going to pair them up in a 2-team parlay. Give me Oregon State and give me Clemson in a parlay, man. It's just the pure fate of myself day parlay. We'll see if they both can get it done, man. I think Oregon State is the better team in this one. I do. I think DJU, I bash this guy a lot, man, but I think he does enough here. I really do. I think Oregon State wins it by 10 or so. I'm going to lay it here with them.
Someone in the comments just brought up a good point. Everyone just watched Oregon State smack Utah on national TV, so it's a spot to bet Cal. Yeah, that's another. Oh, it's Buena. What's up, bro? I haven't talked to you in a minute. Yeah, so that's a good point. Mitch, I would almost guarantee you're on Cal with us, right?
Absolutely. And the thing is though, for this, a lot of the same reasons that you guys just mentioned, that Oregon State has played in some very, very public games that have been on TV, playing on weird nights of the week. They played, even that San Jose State game at the beginning of the season was on an odd night of the week, right? So it's like we have all different, all the different factors. And then once again, away from Corvallis, not nearly the same team that they are at home. And DJU, which I'm surprised Ruffalo didn't pull out the full pronunciation there, because he does like to show off that he could pronounce the tough player names. And you want to just say it for everybody since you can?
I
used to have it, but I tried to do it on a.
No, Chris has it, man. He's got it
Ulungalele or something like that. I think that
doesn't sound like he has it at all, Mitch.
He always has it.
Someone just asked. Someone just asked for the Texas Tech Baylor game. I happen to have the graphics here, so let's just run through it real quick. It was our second to last game, and I skipped it because it was almost 12. But we can run through it real quick if people want to hear it. I didn't bet this game. That was another reason I skipped it, because I didn't have much to say. I am probably too big on this Texas Tech team. I like the fast pace. I like the way they run their program, and I know that that's bit me in the ass a couple times this year. But you know what? My read last week on them beating the shit out of Houston was spot on. I think this Baylor defense is kind of ass. Blake Shapen probably is going to make plays on Texas Tech, but I think Tyler Shuck and Texas Tech offense should have a really good game against Baylor, even on their home field. Don't care if it's their homecoming day or their senior prom or whatever the fuck you're talking about, Mitch. Texas Tech -1.5 here on Baylor's home field.
They would never schedule Texas Tech for homecoming.
Oh, they make it like a big game?
They make it like Vandy.
Oh, a game they could definitely win. Oh.
Of course.
See, I wouldn't even think, like, I didn't even know that. Rat Hawk, you betting this one?
Oh, God. Yeah, if forced to pick, I'd go Baylor or pass. I'm just not a Baron Morton fan. That's just personal preference. I get what you're saying completely about this Baylor defense. They were terrible. I mean, they dug themselves into a 35-7 hole against UCF last week, but managed to dig themselves out of it. Maybe that was more about, again, UCF shooting themselves in the foot, but I'm not reading too much into Texas Tech beating the crap out of Houston.
Houston sucks.
I think, yeah.
Mitch likes them. Mitch likes them for some reason. Houston sucks.
I think they're going to be good. They have a lot of money.
Yeah, it's true. They
don't have a lot of points.
But they have a lot of money, which means a lot today in college football.
So maybe next year we could talk about Houston, but they suck right now.
Well, you take a look at those recruiting classes and you see who's paying.
Yeah.
My guess is they will be.
Yeah, Tillman Fertitta.
Mitch, you gonna bet on this one?
Why not? I'll take Texas Tech. I know they're out of favor, but I hate Baylor's guts because I love UCF and they beat us last week. Not us, but they beat UCF. I always take UCF unless they're playing Miami. So they hurt me because it was one of those things, right? And we all do this, right? If you're winning by a comfortable margin, you kind of circle it as a winner. But if you're losing, then it's always like, well, we could come back, and you kind of leave it open until the bitter end, right? Hope creeps in. It's like, but I had that one circled as a winner for UCF, and it bit me right in the ass. Screw you, Baylor.
That was a crazy game. No. That wasn't the Baylor comeback game. That was a few weeks ago.
Yeah, it was. Yeah.
That Baylor comeback game, that was last week, the UCF game?
Yeah.
Was Baylor laying like 8, right?
Don't you remember my bounce house joke?
Because I didn't cover my bet. They came back and won, but I'm pretty sure I didn't cover my bet.
7.5. No, Baylor was.
So I did win my bet.
They were getting
I don't know
7.5.
why I had that mixed up in my head.
They were getting 7.5.
Oh, so yeah, I won my bet then. All right.
I lost mine.
We'll finish it up with J-Bone giving us a pick on Baylor, Texas Tech. Two Texas teams.
Texas Tech, I'll tell you that.
He doesn't like Texas Tech. It's a Texas team.
Them.
They burned you week 1, week 2, but I'm taking them here, man. Baylor got the win of their season last week. This Baylor team's not good. We saw that, and that was evident when Texas State came in there boat racing in week 1. I'm taking Texas Tech. They're the better team. They should get this one done. I'm just not a believer in this Baylor offense. This is one of the weaker Baylor teams in years past. Usually Baylor's really good where you can catch them in sneaky spots, to be, one of the best teams in their conference. That's not the case this year. Let me take.
All right, everyone, let's have a great day. You can find all their stuff on pickdawgz.com, and there's their Twitters. You'll find their stuff everywhere. My stuff on KyleKirms.com, as you know. Thanks again. Thanks as always for watching. They do an NFL show before mine on Sunday morning, so if you're able to catch theirs first, I'll be live at 11 a.m. with Toast and Prop Beaver, talk NFL, hopefully with a lot more money in my account next time we talk. Let's have a great Saturday. Everyone, remember to bet responsibly, and hit me up if you need me.